at the moment, there is negotiations going on between the government, the Treasury, and Mayor Khan's office about the future funding of London Underground. They've cut £2 billion from the funding, and that has put at risk our members' pensions. They want to decimate the pension and change it into an entirely different, cheaper scheme, which will make all our members poorer in retirement and probably pay more while they're working. So we haven't got an agreement on that. And there's also threats to terms and conditions. We want a promise and a commitment that the terms and conditions won't be diluted. And there is a threat of a loss of jobs in certain sections of the Underground. Well, there have been talks, lots of times. There's been a whole series of talks, but we're excluded from the talks because the main discussion is going on between the government and the Mayor's office, and they won't even disclose the numbers involved, which runs into billions of pounds. But essentially, Mayor Khan is offering our members terms and conditions as a hostage to get the funding of the railway and the bus services as well, the whole of TfL, pushed downwards. So there are a lot of problems. We've got Arriva Rail London out on strike today, London Underground and Unite, fellow union, has got their bus workers out because they're suffering from low pay, but our members are being threatened with their pensions being cut to pieces and being poorer going forward.
What I'd say to the RMT is the primary motivator for you going on strike today is your concerns about conditions the government may attach to a funding deal with TfL. We're on the same side here. Nobody wants the government to be attaching unreasonable conditions to our deal. The only reason we need a deal is because of the pandemic. Let's work together with businesses, with other Londoners, to get the best possible deal for London. Today, it's ordinary Londoners, it's commuters, it's businesses who are caught in the crossfire. The government, Grant Shapps, isn't affected at all. Well, the way the government's behaving, it's almost like they're deliberately provoking strikes across the country, not just in the transport sector, but in other sectors as well, as a precursor for legislation to curtail the rights of trade unions to go on strikes. It's really important for us to recognise that over the last 2 years, our transport workers have been frontline heroes, keeping public transport running to allow key workers, the nurses, the doctors, the retailers and others, firefighters, to get to place of work. It's not right to treat transport workers this way. I'm keen, though, to make sure we get the best possible deal for TfL, because we don't get a national recovery without a London recovery. We simply will not get a London recovery unless TfL fires on all cylinders. What we don't want are unreasonable draconian strings attached by the government.
Around the table are the employers and the workers' representatives, in this case, the unions. They're the only people who can settle this strike. Of course, government sets the mandate overall because we have the further wider responsibility for not just how much rail workers are paid, but how much care workers are paid, how much staff in the NHS, doctors and nurses, and police, and so many other public services. So, of course, we have to set an overall framework. The Treasury has done that. In a way, as I say, rail is fortunate. There is so much modernisation required for work practices which have no place in the 21st century at all. I'll give you a good example of this. Is there are the same number of ticket offices, more or less, than there were when virtually all the tickets were sold at ticket offices. We want to get people out from behind the glass and onto the stations, helping customers.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you're saying this has got nothing to do with the government. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to move this on.
And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the government has to set the overall mandate, the framework, but the technical discussions have to take place between the employers and the unions, and they have been. And that's why we've got offers of 8% over 2 years on the table with, as I say, it varies depending on which part of which union and which part of the railway we're talking about, but no compulsory redundancies, for example, with the Network Rail maintenance side, and much more. If the unions won't put the offer to their members, I'm afraid we will have to impose some of these solutions, and that's where we're moving to now.